I'm sure many of you heard by now that Russia defaulted on their foreign debt, but what does it mean and why it's not exactly what you think? Let's briefly define what default is. Debt services default occurs when the borrower has not made a scheduled payment. A sovereign default is the failure or refusal of the government of a sovereign state to pay back its debt in full when due. So, has a default in Russia occurred? If we're being strictly technical, yes, Russia was unable to meet their obligations to service their debt, basically pay the percentages they owed to others. However, in reality, Russia has money to pay, has even made payments before, so wants to pay. They are not refusing to do so, but they simply cannot do that because the West doesn't allow them to pay and basically refuses to accept their money. It happens because EU and US basically cut off Russia from the banking sector and are actively creating obstacles to accept the debt payment. This whole video is made, however, because the Western media are claiming Russia wasn't able to pay, and everyone is dogpiling on the same news without providing important details, with the coverage of this event ranging from quite disingenuous to straight up deceiving. Let's look at this. While Europe continues to send Russia money for gas and oil, and more than $50 billion have been already sent since the beginning of Russian invasion of Ukraine, this so-called default occurred because Russia, presumably, couldn't pay measly $100 million, which were due in May. This equates to 0.2% of the amount of money Europe has paid to Russia for energy. Now, being a reasonable person, please tell me, do you think you can truly say that a country defaulted on their debt if they were unable to pay less than 1% of the amount of money they received in less than 6 months, while they're willing to pay, have made payments, and were trying to resolve this particular situation, and have more than 300 billion in their reserves both in and outside of the country? Obviously, this isn't a real default, in a sense that most people would think about such event. For once, Russian government is actually telling the truth. This is a situation completely manufactured by US and EU. It's a truly farcical situation, and believe me, I do not want to side with Russian officials ever. If anything, I deeply want Russia to fall and collapse and get separated into many different independent republics to finally end this bloody regime and empire ambitions once and for all. But the Western media and the governments of the Western world are simply disingenuous in this aspect. They're making Russia default. So, why the West is doing this? Why they refuse to accept these payments? My theory is that it's done to be able to expropriate Russia's frozen assets. Right now, there are about $300 billion of Russian state funds that are hindered or effectively frozen by the West. It's the money Russia stored in the West, essentially. Right now, the US and EU cannot do anything with these funds because they are still legally belong to Russia. However, and that's where the trick with debt default comes in. Since Russia technically wasn't able to pay in due time and now is defaulted on their foreign debt, US and EU could potentially ask Russia to pay not only the percentages of the debt but the whole debt. How much? Russia's foreign debt is about $40 billion and about $20 billion is owed to foreigners. If EU and US will ask Russia to pay the debt fully, which Russia won't be able to do because the Western countries once again would refuse to accept their payments, it will create a precedent to expropriate anywhere from $20 to $40 billion from these frozen assets as a coverage for the debt. Or maybe take all 300 billion, who knows at this point. Accidentally or not, US is giving Ukraine about $40 billion of Lend-Lease money to procure military equipment and provide all sorts of financial aid to the country fighting against Russian invaders. Coincidence? Is it fair? If we're talking strictly about the economy, no. Broadly speaking, since Russia started this horrific war and created total chaos in the region and across the whole globe with manufactured food crisis, killed thousands of people, and dealt damage to Ukraine upwards of $500 billion already, yes, I think it's fair to seize their money. Could the West do it? Yes, they could, probably will, and I guess they should. Take the Russian money and help Ukraine with those money. I think it's pretty fair. And also, this will send a message to anyone who's thinking about doing the same shit, mainly China or some Middle Eastern countries. You do not want to mess with us because we will not tolerate any wars like that. So, what do you think? Would you want EU and US to take those Russian money and help Ukraine with it? Also, was this video educational or entertaining? If so, please share this video, post a link on Reddit or other social media, subscribe, follow, and support this channel if you can by going to criticaldiscussions.net. There are a few donate links there, I would really appreciate it. I also stream on Twitch, bringing you insights into Russian news, debunking some misinformation, and so on. Join me there. Thank you for watching, and take care.